creating conversations you can keep. That's what we do. Arrow.net, ARROE.net. We are unplugged and totally uncut with Leigh Lewis.
I'm great, Arrow. How are you?
Well, I'm talking to a hero, and I mean that because, the way that you combine verse and poetry is everything that I've always done as a writer. Teachers have never liked that about me, but then when you see your words in play, I'm going, I'm not such an oddball after all.
Writers unite.
Isn't that? Did you go through the same thing where creative writing teachers and things like that would go, nah, we need you to structure your words this way and do this thing?
I suppose I did. I suppose I did. I do think that there's something to trying to learn the basics before you break the rules. But I think, everybody who kind of goes out on a venture with writing does that same thing. Coming to a point where they're just like, yeah, I'm going to break a few of the rules.
I can't wait to see how readers are going to react to this, because in reality, I don't think there's ever been a time that I've ever been introduced to a female pirate. You just wouldn't believe how many people say, female pirate? Right.
It's kind of this universal response of, what? And so, how thrilling to be able to write a book to kind of shine a light on some little-known women in history.
Well, little-known women, but yet, I'm going to say their names wrong, and I do apologize. Ching Shih led 80,000 men. This is a powerful, powerful woman.
Absolutely. Ching Shih, and she was literally the most successful pirate who ever lived. And so the fact that she's not a household name is just kind of mind-boggling.
What gave her the superpower? You always hear of the pirates in the seven seas and things like that. How was she able to keep 80,000 people together when most businesses today can't keep 12 people together?
Well, so their approach was a little bit different. They basically took the ragtag pirates, the one-offs, the two-offs, the bands of four, and they pulled them all together and gave them a home with the Red Flag Fleet. That was the name of their group. It's called the Red Flag Fleet. And so really that was the winning strategy, was to find the stragglers and give them a home.
I'm just so inspired.
And from there, she ended up implementing a very, very strict code that was also beneficial to them to keep them loyal. But the code really broke a lot of the rules of the day. So Ching Shih's code included kind of a feminist bent, which was when female prisoners were captured, they could be married to some of a pirate that was on the ship, or they would be let free. If anybody dared to abuse a woman or not follow those rules, they walked the plank. They were put to death. And so it was, there was no mercy. And we thankfully we know about this because there was a captive on the ship. Richard Glasspool, who was an English hostage for 3 months, and he told the tale. He wrote the story of what happened when he was captive on the ship, and so that's how we know about Ching Shih's strict code of rules.
Wow. In these pages, you've chosen 6 women that history has pretty much forgotten. And while I was paging through it and reading about everyone, I sat there and thought, wait a second, cancel culture is nothing new. Why didn't I know about these 6 women?
Well, certainly in every aspect of history, women's accomplishments have been erased far more than they should have been. And so, I think there's a lot of reasons for that, but we know for sure that history was mostly, and by that I mean literal written history, was mostly written by men, and men tend to write about men and not about women. Right. And there's some other reasons why it's possible that specifically with pirates they were left out of the history books. It's been long considered bad luck to have women on ships at sea, for fear that it would anger the sea gods. So, who knows? Maybe that had something to do with just kind of leaving them out of the history book.
Wow. I'm gonna murder this name as well, but I'll tell you what, I've never read anything like this story. An Islamic pirate, and Sayyida al Hurra.
Yep, Sayyida al Hurra. Yep, yeah. She during the Reconquista, she and her family was kicked out of their home in Granada because they were Muslim. And they went to Morocco. And she, fascinating story, she basically decided that she was going to dedicate her life to avenging the exile of her people. And the way that she decided to go about it was that she approached the most feared pirate at the time in the region, Barbarossa, and said, hey, how about if you give me half of the Mediterranean and I'll be a pirate in that area and you stick to the east? And he said, okay.
Oh, wow.
And that's what happened. And then for 20 years, she ruled the Western Mediterranean. She was an equal ally of the famous pirate Barbarossa.
Are you working with National Geo in the way that you're going to turn these into episodes and stuff like that? Because I love the book because it's playing in my mind, but I also like looking at moving pictures.
I wish that was within my control, but it is not. So let's just say, if you hope that, imagine how much I hope for that to come true.
Well, I mean, look at what you're doing with Sara inside this, Sara Gomez Woolley. Because, I mean, the two of you together, you're Lennon and McCartney when it comes to the pirate world.
Oh, God, Sara's so talented. I mean, she brought these pirates to life in a way that I just couldn't have imagined. I don't know if you know how publishing works, but basically a writer writes a story, they sell it to someone, and then they sit, if it's an illustrated book, as this is fully illustrated, they sit and bite their nails while they wait to see who the illustrator is that the publisher picks and what the first drafts come back as for the first illustration. And in this case, I was just so blown away by what Sara did for these pirates. And National Geographic played a huge hand in that as well. I mean, their art director just had such a vision for this book. And they hired pirate experts to provide Sara with a packet of information on each pirate. So she was handed over a packet of information that said, these are what the knives look like. These are what the handles on the knives look like. These are what the ships look like. These are what the cargoes look like. So that she was really able to, historically accurately represent what these women's experiences would have been at the time that they were alive.
Wow. Leigh, you got to come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always, always, always going to be open for you.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so nice.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay? Or should I say, well, how would a pirate say be brilliant? Hey, be brilliant today.
Shiver me timbers.
Okay, bye-bye.